With the Christmas holiday well underway, there are several names within this market that are showing some significant signals for general lows and major continuation drives. With that said, welcome back to EllioTrades channel. I'm your host Krown again today with some Christmas TA, as we say, and I want to make this one nice and short and sweet. I understand everyone's with their families today, so happy Merry Christmas to everyone out there, or happy holidays, whatever you might be celebrating, whether it's just a nice Saturday, then happy Saturday in your life as well. I'll quickly let you know that if you are interested in or might find valuable a daily Bitcoin analysis, I do exactly that on my own channel. There is a link in the description below, and it's also free. All right, cool. So let's jump into it right now. Like I said, nice and short and sweet. I just want to start it off with the chart of the day for Bitcoin, something very simple right here, following up on something that I put out on Twitter like a couple weeks ago, basically nailing things down into as simplistic as possible. The ranges, the big bad ranges for the daily specifically. We have bounced off the bad side, which is good. We have bounced off the bad side, which is good. Sorry, let me take that back for a second here. We bounced off the exact area that you want to see for Bitcoin to remain in a good long-term posturing. Obviously, below $46,000 was bad on a daily closing basis, which Bitcoin did not initiate. And more importantly, Bitcoin now bouncing up towards the good area, of which that would be the next major thing for the majority of this market to get these continuations off of these major lows. In this case, with Bitcoin, or if Bitcoin were to close a daily above the top side of this next good area right here, which is $52,000, I would be looking for an initial move over the next following weeks, somewhere into the $56,000 to $59,000 region, and very likely the rest of the market will follow in varying degrees of strength. So I wanted to call out a few charts here, many of them suggested by the community, and again, I want to encourage you to continue to let me know what sort of names you're looking at in the comment section, and let's just see some charts and which ones are showing that strength right now that are worth paying attention to, that would very likely perform very well, especially if Bitcoin were to make that next leg up, which, well, spoiler alert, I do think very likely happens within the next week and a half. So let's move on to this first one. A lot of people requested polka dot symbol DOT. So the good area for symbol DOT would be above your daily range highs at 31.35. Above there, I do look for this one to go on a nice run all the way up to $36 to $37.5 for the next major move. Long term, still looking good here. This would just be another macro cycle higher low, which is overall good, but I should also, or at least I'd be remiss to not talk about invalidations, or where this one turns around, and that would be below $26.5 on a daily closure. That would be bad and very likely insinuate another test somewhere around our current low side structure, and then we'd have to hold our breath after that. Let's move on to the next one. At near, this one very powerful, already making a move ahead of most of this market. I don't know if we've ever looked at this one on this particular channel, or if it's just been on my channel, but regardless of that, we have taken out what I had marked off as the upside resolution at 12 and 35 cents on a daily closing basis. So I'm looking for this one to continue on with a new all-time high party over the next week to week and a half to come, with targets up somewhere around your deep 18s to low $20 region. Let's just call it $20 to $21 before the next major consolidation. Of course, whichever way that Bitcoin runs, this one will very likely move alongside with it. But in this case, not going to be invalidated as long as this one is above $12.5 on a daily closing basis. Until then, I'm looking generally sideways and up over the next week to, let's call it 2 weeks maybe. All right, moving on to the next one, THETA. This one approaching the top side of its daily range, right at 5 and 13, a daily closure above there, and I would look forward to initiate a move in the following weeks, somewhere around 6 to 6 and a quarter, at which point we'd very likely want to come back to it and reanalysis it, if you will. Of course, what would be bad for this one and insinuate another test towards its 370 lows, that would be with the daily below $4.5 right here. All right, moving on to the next one, a metaverse one, and this is Decentraland Mana. And what do we have right here? Low volatility, momentum oscillators suggesting bullish divergence. We are approaching the top side, or already above the top side of the daily range here. Just want to see a closure above this 374 and a quarter area that we have marked off, and I would be looking for the following weeks to trade back up somewhere around 4 and a quarter, maybe even as much as $4.5, and this would really set it up for a good beginning of 2020. 2021, or not 2021. We got a time machine. We're going back in time. No, 2022 is what I mean to be saying. So this is, again, really a setup for the next, well, the beginning of the next year, Q1 of 2022. All right, another, and what would be bad on this one? I should also, talk about that. Below $3.50, I do look for it to base out once again at its $3 lows if that condition were to be met. Okay, moving on to the next one, we got Sandbox. My LARP line's over here still working, which is great. But more importantly with this, let's actually go to a daily. This one has actually already tested the tops of the daily range. Typically gonna pull back just naturally, which is not a humongous cause for concern on a range like this. But upon validation above this 678 region, which we have essentially pulled back from there in the early morning hours, I would be looking for this one to very likely test back up to its $7.50 highs and set it up for a new all-time high in probably middle to end of January in this case. What would be bad, or essentially suggest another test back down to the bottom side of this range at about 4.5 to 475 or so. That would be with a daily below 590. So far, so good, however, I should say. All right, moving on to symbol FTM, Phantom, another very popular one, testing around the top side of its daily range, just at 230. This is good, and we do have a nice obvious base that's 176.25, which is going to be the invalidation for moves back down to your prior 1.25 lows. Until then, pretty damn good setup right here. Just want to see a daily closure above that 230-ish region with targeted areas back up towards this sort of swing high right here after that at about 258 to 275 region. Again, setting it up for a good start to Q1 of 2022. All right, and I think I got one more on the board over here. We're very early on this video, but that's all good. And that would be symbol CRO, crypto.com. And my LARP line's working again here, but that's, well, it's not really relevant too much anymore. Apologies on that. But basically, what are we looking at right here? Same thing as all the ones before. Above 67 cents, great. I would be looking for the next targeted region at 77.5 cents to be hit after that. And again, very likely sets it up for a great Q1 of 2022. What would be bad on this one? Short term, obviously below about 58 cents. Long term would be below about a $0.50 right there. All right, cool. So we are 7 minutes into this video. I think that's about where I want this one to be. Maybe we just briefly go back on over here, and I want to once again highlight the global leverage ratio, because there was a few questions about this yesterday. So I want to maybe speak a little bit more about this. So the global leverage ratio represents the ratio between leveraged positions and non-leveraged spot positions. The reason why this is relevant is that leveraged positions obviously will have a pain point associated with those, with those positions, because you have to borrow in order to put those positions on. So you will have what's called a liquidation price, meaning that if price goes to what the liquidation price is for that contract position, well, you'll be forced to close that position. So let's say that the position was a leverage short. It always has to be leverage, by the way, but leverage short. Well, if you get hit with your liquidation, then you would be forced to buy, and vice versa for if you're long, you'd be forced to sell. Now, here's the thing. The global funding rates over here representing financing do suggest that this market is being a little bit more aggressive on the short side. Why is that? Because as we looked at yesterday, CVDs were obviously, net negative for, or net market sell on the net market sell for these leveraged positions, but also from the financing right here, we're below what is typically parity, which is 0.01%, which is essentially what you expect. Everything else equal, where your longs will be paying your shorts in order to finance those positions. Now, whenever it goes below that, it does suggest, or it doesn't suggest, it quite literally is a function of the market participants being more, marketing more short than they market more long, suggesting that they are being more aggressive, as that's typically who, will put on a market position executed at market in this case. So when leverage ratios get very, very high like this, we can assume that a volatile event is about to occur, very likely this coming week. And well, based off of this information and the information that we've been consistently seeing over the past month or so now, it would appear to me that most of these short positions are probably probably at the mercy of the market right now, and will really start to come into a lot of pain, especially above this area right here, marked off by the good. Not only would it be stop losses from your prior range highs, but also I imagine a lot of liquidation prices are positioned around there as well. So again, until that level is technically taken out, It's not necessarily actionable, but you can see the domino of effects kind of leading up and how it affects the rest of the market, which again, I am more or less biased towards a bullish resolution here based off of all the things that we've been speaking about on both my channel and this channel for the past month to month and a half now. With that said, I want to be wishing you well. I want to be wishing you the best of this holiday season, or Christmas, or whatever you're celebrating out there, Kwanzaa perhaps as well. And so I'll be signing off now. We'll be back on tomorrow. And with that said, take care.